All right, it's 12 o'clock. Let's call roll, please.
Larson. Black.
Here.
Blair.
Here.
Grinde.
Here.
Hecht.
Here.
Horken. Helms.
Here.
And Quorum.
Would everyone please make sure your microphones are on? Thank you.
Okay, approval of minutes from July 19th, 2022 regular meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions? Anything?
Did somebody second?
Dale.
Dale seconded that.
Daniel, you second?
No, Dale.
Dale did.
Dale? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Brian, are you voting on the minutes?
My what?
Voting to approve or not approve?
Yeah, you guys started early on me here. I thought I was sneaking in at 11:59 and I've got to put me in trouble.
No, we just get going.
I once had a boss who asked, what time did this 7 a.m. meeting start? Okay. He'd always ask us if we were anywhere close to approaching the time.
I used to get the Vince Lombardi speech from my dad. If you're late or if you're on time, you're late.
Oh, yeah.
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 All right, so we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Bills and communication, review of accounts payable August 2nd, August 16th, September 6th, and September 20th, 2022. Any questions? Concerns? Comments?
I will point out one thing to you on all the bills. The utility bills are going up considerably. And I'm sure that's not news to everybody, but it affects the city's budget as well.
Is it something that we're projecting in our budget then?
It goes into the overall budget as opposed to EDA in particular. Okay, yes. And it is affecting the size of the budget. Good.
Fair to say.
Yeah.
All right. Reports, delinquencies,
We have none.
financial reports, July.
I will point out, we do have a business that has gone out of business, and part of it is because one of the proprietors has become ill. But they have a loan, but they are proceeding to pay on the loan. Okay, they are aware and they are paying on the loan.
Okay.
Financial reports. Ms. Anderson is out of town today. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer.
Any questions on the financial reports? All right, directors' reports, July
It's
and
there.
August.
A lot of different things going on. Every day is interesting and different. Recently, there's a lot of activity going on. It is mostly in September. That's dealing with the Wave Academy and going out and talking with businesses and how the Wave Academy will work and how the businesses can work together with the Wave Academy. There's also a lot of things going on in child care. There was a grant submitted to DEED to help one business obtain the financing they need to open up a child care facility for roughly 70 kids. So there's a lot of different things that are going on, and
Have they heard on their deed grant?
they won't hear for another couple of months.
And that's in East Grand Forks?
That is in East Grand Forks, yes.
Where would they be looking to, a new building?
No, it's an existing building that we're renting space.
Okay.
And I don't remember which one. I think it's along 220.
Okay.
Okay. And we had other opportunities, and we're still looking at some other opportunities too, but the window for the deed grant had closed, so we had to do that. So that was submitted. But we're still looking at other opportunities for additional space. I know of at least one business right now that's looking at a particular space in town for childcare. Okay?
Great.
All right, unfinished business, down payment assistant program.
Well, I got your comments, and I made some revisions, and I went back and forth on some different things. And the biggest revision, I think, is the match that was proposed, that the prospective purchaser match the amount of money that the city is putting forth. So in other words, if the city puts up $5,000, the home buyer would have to put up $5,000. If it's 10, it's 10. If it's 1, it's 1. Whatever it might be, it would be a match. Let me know what you think on the program, and then we need to make a motion to move forward, or we can hold it again, and if there are other revisions that you want made.
And that change shouldn't make a difference with what they have to come up for a down anyway?
No.
Right? It should still keep us within...
It's just a source of money for them. So if they are providing money and they're short of the match, if they need $10,000 for the bank's match, for example, they could get 5 from themselves and 5 from us. That type of thing.
So does this make it,
What's that mean?
If they needed a down payment for the bank's down payment,
Yep.
if they needed, say, $10,000, they need to come up with that from someplace. If they could ask us for $5,000, but they'd have to match it for 5, that makes 10 run.
So they have to come up with 5,000 somewhere on their own?
Yes, they have to match whatever the city does.
We've never had that match.
We have never had that match before. It was suggested by one of the members. I didn't name names, okay? It was suggested by one of the members. So I included it, but I presumed that there would be discussion on that match requirement.
Yeah, I can speak to that. That was my suggestion. I thought, well, it's a great program. In order to make sure that it's being used responsibly, I would think you'd want to have this individual have some skin in the game, their own cash. And, with the price of a house now, you're going to have a pretty large down payment anyway to avoid mortgage insurance. So if you were able to access 10 through the program and you had 10 of your own, that shows me this person has saved up some of their own cash to put into this total deal. That would get you to 20, which is 10% of a $200,000 house. Not quite in the median that we're looking at, but you're getting somewhere. So that was my thought, but happy to hear feedback.
I was just going to say, I don't really have a problem. I think that's perfectly fine. I guess my biggest thing here is 10,000. If we're really shooting for 10% of a home, I mean, good luck finding a house around here for $200,000. I mean, I just don't. I'm not saying that this is bad and that we're doing anything wrong here. It's just that is 10,000 really enough to help people get into houses? Because I mean, the average home around here, I think, is somewhere around 260. Is what I've seen on Zillow before, but so I'm just saying, I mean, if that's the goal of the program is to help people get into homes, does this really achieve that, I guess would be my question. Is 10,000 enough?
Does anybody know what the loan origination fee is right now too? Because if this is a first-time home buyer, they might have a first-time home buyer program, but if they don't, I don't think 10% is the number. It's been up to 20% of the, for the loan. Well, I shouldn't say the loan origination fee, but loan to equity value is 80-20 typically.
Yeah, 20% is typically we have to put down to avoid mortgage insurance, right?
Yeah.
That's what I always do.
Yeah. So depending upon what the value of the home is and what the what the loan is, if they're only going to give you 80% of it, then you've got to come up with the other 20% of it.
Yeah, I just see this as like, it's another opportunity to build up your big down payment. So it's just part of this whole suite of things that you're going to bring to the mortgage officer. This is what I can put in, what can you loan me in, and talk terms.
Let me point out, this money does not come directly from a general fund. There is a separate fund that deals with this program. Okay? So unless somebody takes it, there's no draw on the city. Let me go through the first page real quickly. There was a $10,000 max. The term could be 10 years. Originally, we were at 7, but it'd be 10 years total. No interest or payments for the first 24 months, with no interest accruing for the first 24 months. And then they would have an 8-year payoff period is what it amounts to. Interest does not begin until the 25th month of the loan. Annual interest rate, we had gone prime plus. I went back and did a straight interest rate at 3%. This is an effort to get people into homes. I figured this might be better. The interest applies only to the unpaid balance on the first day of the 25th month. Okay. Household income shall not exceed $150,000, trying to get to people.
Maybe we can hold on that one. I'd like to hear people's input. I think Ben's not here today, but that was one that I picked up he wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Is, if we have a income threshold, what is it, and then why do we have it? I did just a little bit of lazy research on Google, and these programs always seem to have this like income threshold. I guess I'm not sure why.
Okay, a lot of them are based upon a percent of the median income. And a lot of the way they're funded by federal or state agencies, or the way the money is derived by state bonding agencies, that they say there is a cap on what the income level can be. The USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, the Rural Development Program also has a cap on what their income levels can be, because their goal is to get people with less income into homes. They figure that people with the way I read it, they feel that a person who has a larger income has more access to more sources, and they can find a way to accomplish that. So that's where the genesis is. By going to $150,000 for us, we're about $40,000 above the threshold of the 60 or 80% or 120% of median income thresholds that you see elsewhere.
If you'd looked at the Polk County one, they're at 115%, which is 107,000.
Yeah, and that will likely go up again.
I guess the question that I have is, in your documents, you're talking about, you gave us some additional information regarding some funding sources from the state of Minnesota, and wondering if we could get into the first-time home buyer with our program. I think that your 150,000 is exceeding their program, so is that going to automatically keep you out of their program?
Well, let's get to that when we finish this page, Ron. Okay?
Oh, and I email back and forth.
Because Brian and I talked quite a bit about that, and Diane has some questions as well. Okay?
Going to be back to that one. I mean, I would love to hear people's thoughts. I'm not particularly passionate about the number or where it goes, as long as most people in here.
That's the genesis of it, okay? Going on, that there will require a cash investment that matches the city's investment in the program, bless you. That our maximum amount that we will invest is $10,000. Maximum value of the home to be purchased is $300,000. It will be primary residence and not for rental, and it remains in effect as long as one of the original borrowers continues to reside in the home. They can't both sell it and still continue to have that benefit. Okay? Now, any questions on that before I start to answer Ron and the other questions on the other program?
Is this, so if they sell the home, does it have to all be paid back
Yes.
right at the time of the sale?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I want to touch on before you go into the first-time homebuyer program too with it is that I think this might be something that I would ask that maybe you consult with a banker on with some of these too, just to find out if this program is there for when people need it. It's not, I don't want it to just be an open program for anybody just to come and get the money. So with that, like the maximum amount and then the match. Well, if they have to match, is that going to hurt them now of taking away income that they have saved? Because when you buy a home, you can't have a big dump of money into your checking or savings account. It waves a red flag with a banker that They won't allow you to do it. You have to have so much saved up for so long. So I just want to know, like, is the match going to maybe hurt somebody if they have to match? Is the income threshold, is that going to be a factor in, I guess, what they qualify for at a bank, the down payment amount? I just think that if we have, like, if you, I guess, maybe consult with a banker on it and just ask them what their opinion is on some of these things, it will give maybe better insight to us as well.
Okay. That's a great idea.
Just because, like I said, I think the match is a great idea, because like you said, then people aren't just going to come and try to get the free money. But also, we don't want that to end up hurting people, and the bank go, well, we were counting on this match, but now that we have to take an extra $5,000-$10,000 from what they had saved, now they don't qualify for this, which could be the potential.
And we've heard about that impact before on using some of the down payment assistance programs, on what it affects, how much they can borrow from a bank.
Yeah, it's debt, right? I mean, you're taking this lower interest debt and then putting it towards this down payment.
So that's really the next step, is when we decide what we want, take it out to the bankers and ask how does this affect, so we can then make adjustments and have a final program. And this will be one of those that moves forward when it's ready to move forward. It's not something we have to do today or in any particular time frame.
So do we like what it says here for Paul to take to the bankers, I guess is the
Well, I
question.
think I'm hearing some comments that we still need to deal with the maximum amount and the maximum income amount and a couple of things like that. And with Ben being unavailable today, that we probably want to hold this until our next meeting to go through it again to make sure that we're all together.
Well, I think you could go to a bank very easily right now with just these parameters and say, is it going to affect anything if you've got a cap on the household income? Is it going to affect anything if you have a match on the down payment assistant program instead of kicking it out another month and getting information and then kicking it out another month?
Okay.
You know, I mean, it just seems those are some of the questions that a banker could answer right now if there's going to be an effect.
And that would then give us the direction as to, do we need to lower any of these? Do we need to raise any of these?
Okay.
That
That's
kind of
fair.
thing.
I can contact them.
The only other question that I guess I would have on this here is the $300,000 maximum purchase value there. I mean, are people able to build on those lots out there for $300,000 with the lot value?
It's close. Remember, I sent the information to all of you
Right.
on what the home values were, and those are a lot of new homes. And the majority of the homes were below the $300,000 threshold. That's why I put it there.
Well,
But it doesn't mean that it has to stay there.
Looking into the future with costs rising here, I mean, is that a consideration? Because, I mean, I just went ahead and I just did a quick
Okay.
look, and I've been monitoring houses. And, I mean, most of what's for sale are actually the lots. I mean, when I did it, it looked like it was 31 lots and 13 homes that were under $300,000. So, I mean, so if you're able to, if you're looking at building a house, I mean, if that's part of what we want this to be, to get people to build those homes on those lots, is $300,000, I guess, going to be enough for people to do that?
I think that's part of what we're saying, that we need to come back and rethink, is what is the maximum amount on the home too.
Yeah.
My initial thoughts, to be totally honest, were no limit on the value of the home and no income threshold, leaving it wide open. If somebody wants to come in, and this is just, I'm just kind of talking out loud, if a higher income individual wants to come in, choose between Grand Forks and East Grand Forks, maybe this program sways them over to East Grand Forks. He builds a wherever, right? A house of whatever value it is. That was my initial thought. But then, looking at these other programs, there's these income thresholds in the Minnesota ones as well. And that got Paul and I emailing back and forth on some of these other programs. They really seem like they are more focused. Well, this one for sure is for first-time home buyers. But I do think we're in competition with Grand Forks for individuals throughout the entire income band. And so we should think hard if we want to not include the high income earners who may choose East Grand Forks because there's a good program here.
And remember, this is a city program. This is not a first-time home buyers program. So and I sent you information also about a first-time homebuyers program that could supplement what is here. It could also be done on the county through the Northwest Minnesota HRA, so that one doesn't necessarily have to be done by the city, but it is another program that can supplement and augment and create more opportunities for people. Again, has possible impacts upon what bankers will lend, what mortgage brokers will lend.
Because really having a household income cap, that's going to cap how high of a house they can buy. Because someone who makes $150,000 is not going to buy a $400,000 house. The numbers just don't work, usually.
I don't know.
Unless-
Bankers can impress people sometimes. You never know what they come up with.
I guess I think we just need
I think that got them
to
in trouble a while back.
focus on what we actually want this program used for. Like Brian's saying is, do we want it completely just open-ended for anybody, or do we want it limited to helping somebody that might need help in case this is something that might run out of money? So if we keep it wide open, we might run out of money sooner than having caps on it and utilizing the program for somebody that's trying to get into a home but needs a little bit more help.
And that's something that, as a policy, you have to give some guidance to me.
Yeah. And it's the first home that's tough. You know, after you build equity, homes 2 and 3 become so much easier. I guess in my personal experience,
So-
it's getting that first home. So I'm kind of talking in circles, but just interested in everyone's thoughts on
So
craft.
you need to think real hard about whether it's first time, getting people in, or whether this should be open to everybody.
Sure.
Just throwing it out there, my thought is I'd like to see the program so that it can help get some of those lots sold that we still have on the books. Because I don't really think we want to be in the business of selling lots. So it'd be nice to
Now-
have homes built out there and get rid of those.
That having been said, lot sales are down generally, but we're still moving along.
Nope, I understand that. I mean, that's just kind of my thing. Ever since I've joined the board, I mean, that's been kind of there, and I'd like to get those taken care of.
Could you remind me, what were the tech school houses selling for out by the golf course?
The last one just sold for $450, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like
Quite a bit.
50 or so.
You know, that would tell me maybe we should strike out this maximum value. On the
That's the part that bothers me, and then the other part is I'm not sure that just a maximum amount of $10,000 is, I don't know if that'll be enough.
it's
So,
not enough.
especially to sway people from one side of the river to the other.
Sure. I see it as just a part of what you've got to bring to the table.
I see it as a part, but I see it as a potential. I'd rather be on East Grand Forks than in Grand Forks because of this, because they're willing to help me out.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much money do we have in our?
I asked Carla that question, and she said there is no maximum amount because of where it comes from. Now, is that realistic? No, I don't think it's realistic. But there will be a limited number of people who apply anyway, and it really has to do with what bankers will allow and where they have to draw funds from. Okay? When I talked with Carla, we were talking about if it's $50,000 that's available, so we talked about an amount to put into that line item in that portion of the budget. If it were at $10,000, that means we'd be targeting 5 such loans per year. What do we do if we get a 6th one? Do we want to turn somebody down? I really don't sense that's what this board wants to do.
Right.
And I suspect it's not what the city council would feel comfortable with either. Okay, just knowing how supportive you are of people trying to do things in this community and how supportive the city council is of trying to do things for people in the community, I really don't think they'd want to put an
If we
artificial
would,
cap.
if we got the 50, let's just use that number again, and we did use it all up, would we have to go back to the council and ask them for more money to fill that fund, or does Carla just get to automatically do that?
I think that it would be, at the end of the year, there's a reconciliation, or early the next year. I think it would come in the reconciliation, because remember, every time it's a loan, it's an asset too, because it's a receivable. So it balances out at 0. It actually balances out at 0 plus because of the interest that'll be applied. So
Because I agree,
it is an asset.
I would hate to say, oh, sorry, we ran out of money, we can't help you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where I keep thinking about this too, of going back and looking at open-ended compared to, even if people are going to buy a $500,000 house and come and utilize this program, and the first 5 are higher home values, and then we have 4 or 5 people that come to us that really absolutely need this to buy a house, and they're going to buy a $270,000 home, and now we've
That's
already.
going to go back to the first-time home buyer again.
But can't we hopefully get a set up program so they can use both?
I see what I think we should build in enough flexibility, and I think that's where talking to a banker at is going to give us a better idea, is building enough flexibility into this program so it kind of can meet multiple situations that we may run into.
Use multiple ways.
Sure. I mean, but we don't know that information because we're not bankers, and I think that's, I'm willing to make a proposal to take this to the banker and we'll get more information, so.
Yeah, what I plan to do is send out what we have and ask for comment. How does this affect a mortgage that you're trying to do for any home buyer and also for first-time home buyers? And respond, give us some guidance, so we can work together. When we do get an application, one of the first things that I end up doing is talking with the banker too, to make sure that everything works.
Yeah. And I guess I'm saying banker, but I assume we're going to talk to more than one.
A mortgage banker, whoever does.
Just for the
mortgage
record that
broker,
we're going to talk to more than one person, I would assume, than just,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So we're going to table this, and you're going to talk.
Well, this will just be held. We won't move to a motion on here.
Okay.
Ron, you had asked a question. Did I answer your question?
He doesn't remember.
Can you go through this one?
I have some timers.
Yes.
Sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, play the tape back.
Well, I think I can pick it up.
Unless it comes to
Paul,
Bill,
maybe you could
then I always
reiterate our
remember.
email conversation about the state or county program and how that's different from the city program.
Let me pull out the materials, because I printed it so I wouldn't forget.
I was initially confused by reading through this program, and I started firing emails to Paul saying, well, if our regulations are different than the state, how can we access the state money? But
Well,
we're not-
then we'd have to run a separate program. Okay.
Yeah.
The state program would have to be run separately and be a separate fund if the city were to obtain funding, and we'd have to use those funds as a separate fund. We could not commingle funds.
And this would be the first-time home buyer fund.
That would be the state's first-time home buyer program, and so it would be a separate program, and it could be additive as well, so that you could take it, somebody could take advantage of both, but we'd have to follow their rules. They're not local rules. We'd have to follow the state's rules and how the program is funded. In addition, the Polk County HRA also has programs to assist home buyers. They have a program that deals with all home buyers. That's the one that got us back into here because they were running out of money in that program. And they are also eligible to apply for the first-time home buyers. Their annual meeting is next week. I chair that group. So one of the things that that is on the agenda, because I requested it to be on the agenda, is a discussion of them accessing the first-time home buyers program, because a lot of the people who apply for a program at the Polk County level are first-time home buyers rather than second or third-time home buyers.
Does Polk County currently have a first-time home buyers?
They don't have a first-time home buyers, they have home buyers.
They have which is
Comparable
this
to
other-
us. They
which
just
is
have
this
different,
sheet.
slightly different parameters. Yes. And partially, the income caps are based upon their sources of money.
Why not just have 2 programs?
Well, yeah.
Fit into the home buyer program with the state and see if you can qualify, and then have another program for anybody that's not qualifying for that.
That was kind of my thought.
that may be where
after
we
we
go.
talk to the bankers, if we need to
Yep.
split something up to attract, and that's why I asked, what is the target of this program? And maybe if we have 2 separate targets for this program, we should have 2 separate programs.
And that's why I gave you the materials, because we may be looking at 2 programs. And there are other programs available at different lenders as well. The United States Department of Agricultural Development has several home buyer programs. And last week, Senator Smith had her staff out here, and we talked about the Farm Bill and the parameters. I pointed out the parameters don't work. they're too low. With where prices have gone, they're too low to work, and they need to adjust the parameters so the program can help us, because right now, the homes in East Grand Forks generally do not qualify. Even though the programs are available, it's like an
And East
illusion
Grand
because you
Forks
can't.
East Grand Forks does qualify for USDA.
East Grand Forks does, Grand Forks does not.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're approaching this on a lot of different levels, and there are a lot of different possibilities, and all of them are going to swirl at the same time, and a person may qualify for one or two or three and have to choose which program or programs best suit their needs.
Is there,
What's the cap on that? Is that like a
I don't remember.
10,000, city of 10,000 under?
No, I think it's 30,000. It's either 25 or 30,000, Ron, for the RD eligibility, and you can't be in certain proximity to the Twin Cities, for example, because
Yeah, I get
you're
that.
affected. For us, for the economic development portions of RD, because we're so close to Grand Forks, we can't access to those except for certain parcels that have not been included as ineligible yet. So that was part of my discussion, and I'm off track, I know that, but that was part of my discussion, is that you can't have a Crookston or Foston have these programs available and not have us have these programs available. We're in the same situation that they are, and that we need to have eligibility for the Farm Bill. So a lot of things went on at that meeting about making sure we are eligible, but it has to do with housing as well. Okay?
go ahead.
I just had a quick question on the Polk County housing side. Being that you're on that, do you know about what percentage of people get denied on that every year?
It's rare to have somebody denied.
Okay.
The thresholds are low, but in the other parts of the county, a
But
lot of the home
is there
prices are under
people that
100,000.
Is there people that are applying that are denied because they're too high for what the thresholds are?
They would never get to the vote of the board. They would be denied because of their income before it ever.
Right, but that's what I'm just saying is that how many, do you see
I don't know
many
the
of those
numbers of how many
applications?
people apply versus
Okay.
how many people
Because it doesn't get
sent.
that far then?
Doesn't get that far.
Okay. Just curious because, obviously I think we're all seeing that there's a need for two different programs. I'm wondering how many got denied at that level just because they were just over the threshold where they would have qualified for what we were offering then or something.
Inside the city of East Grand Forks, there are very, very few applicants to that program. Although I have, for some people who wouldn't qualify for our program, I have informed them of the other program. And I have seen, I think, one that went through and got a loan that way as well.
Okay.
But it's a case of, again, getting people to some place that they can take advantage of.
Yeah.
What are the pros or cons of us having a first-time homebuyers program here in East Grand Forks versus the county or that regional authority?
Convenience for residents, but we'd have to administer the program. It's run through, if I remember correctly, it's run through the banks, versus a countywide program that might be able to access more dollars, be able to use it countywide that our residents could also use. We do have a local office here. The main office is in Mentor, so it's not quite as convenient as us, but again, it runs through the banks. And if we and the county program both apply, they may fund one and not the other, which is what I'm concerned about, because there's limited amounts of dollars available. So it basically, it can be done, but it may strain the resources that are available, so neither one of us may get enough money to be effective.
Do you feel that the county or the regional is going to go and apply? Or, because what if they say no? Do we have enough time to?
My recommendation as the chair is yes,
Yes,
that they
okay.
apply. Okay? Now,
If they say no, this isn't due till mid-January.
January, yes.
So we would have time as an
We'd have time
entity
to
to
act.
react if we,
yes, certainly.
because I would just hate to have us assume that they're going to do that and then we don't have an option to.
Falls through the
Which is
cracks.
why now, for discussion, to make sure we can be prepared to do whatever we need to do to be effective.
Because I think having a first-time homebuyers would be great.
Yes.
I mean, I have materials from the Polk County programs at my office that I share with people too.
Well, and I don't think that qualifying or being a part of the state program eliminates your ability to have your own first-time home buyer program or access the county's program. I think
Yes.
you just qualify if you're willing to go by their program, and then you could
Build from there.
build from
Yes.
there if you necessarily wanted to, but the
Thi-
numbers are all different.
But
Yes.
this pile of money that we're talking about here, doesn't make sense to try to split it up between the three.
That's one of the things we will talk about next week as well. How can we access the most dollars so we can benefit the most people? And if it's as two separate applications, it's two. If it's as one application, it's one. But our job is to try to make opportunities available for people, not to try to limit those opportunities.
Right.
Right.
Okay?
And then really promoting these programs once they take off. You know, if you're interested in moving in East Grand Forks, you know, there's this county program, there's a city program. Why wouldn't you want to live here rather than, you know, those other guys?
So we got
Yes.
a marketing budget for it.
Yeah. I mean, like,
And that's why, remember, I finally asked for a small increase in the budget. It was basically marketing area oriented, so we could do these things.
The big issue is having the lender understand the program so that they can present it, and having the realtor understand the program so that they can suggest it.
Yep.
Because most of them, I hate to say it, but when you're talking realtors, I would say a vast majority of the realtors don't even suggest any of it because they are part-time or new or whatever, so they don't even look into it.
Or they
Or
focus
the
on Grand
program was
Forks.
written-
Yep.
Or the program was written by the government agency and it's hard to understand.
Yep, or, you know,
Because
and then the other thing
No
is,
offense.
language.
unless you have a really good lender, a lot of times the lenders aren't even suggesting these programs because they're not either aware of them, or it's more like paperwork.
And
Yes.
I know that we made this space available when we became eligible for the RD housing programs, and that a lot of lenders came in, a lot of realtors came in, but it's still just a small portion of the total pool of people who do the lending and who sell the homes.
And there are some very good lenders out there that know all of the programs and are willing to work with you. It's just depending upon who they are. It's just like in any other business. Same thing with realtors.
Okay, so moving on. Everybody good?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's really exciting what we're going to be able to offer.
Do you have
people.
enough direction from us, Paul?
I have a lot of direction from you, like north, south, east, and west all at the same time.
We're good directors.
SBA for businesses and
All right.
Three-dimensional.
2022 budget.
I just wanted to let you know, it was submitted, it's the same as what you had suggested. I remember I had let all of you know that because of the budget limitations we have this year, that I was not going to move forward with asking for money for an intern. If we can find an intern who's free, or they get credit for it, that's one thing. If we can't, I don't wish to put that type of pressure on the city budget.
Okay.
So that's informational for you.
Yes. Infield subdivision update.
The infill subdivision will go to the Plan Commission and City Council in October. Just so you know.
Okay.
Inquiring minds, right?
New business. No October meeting. Paul has got a POCA instruction down.
Actually, I'm going to be in costume that day, I think. I'm actually going to be out of Mountain beginning approximately October 10th through approximately November 10th. So I asked Mr. President here if we could not hold a meeting in October. I don't know how I would put the agenda together, and I know I'm not even going to be allowed to drive yet on the 27th.
And
So
I told him
asked
I
that
didn't
you-
see a problem with that, but the next problem I saw is to make sure he doesn't come back too soon and wreck what he just had tried to get fixed.
Yeah.
Not that I'd do that, but
No, we know you. The one thing I will remind people is I can still read the telephone, and messages come in on the telephone, and I can answer calls. So
But you're not doing it here, correct?
I'm not planning to be in the office.
No, like, the procedure isn't being done here.
The procedure's being done by the doctor who took care of the spouse of one of our people who's sitting at this table.
So mine do, then.
Yeah.
He's terrible.
I've heard that. That's what everybody says, right?
No, he's
Nah.
good.
No.
So do we need a motion on that?
Very highly, no, I don't think we need a
No,
motion.
I don't think we need a motion.
He comes
Everybody's
very
okay
highly
with it.
recommended is what it amounts to.
Absolutely.
And because he's so highly recommended, it's time. They've shown me some of the x-rays. I'll tell you this, when I walked in to see my doctor, remember a couple of years ago when I was using the walker?
The walker, yeah.
And when I walked in to see my doctor without the walker, her jaw hit the floor and she said, "I didn't think you'd ever walk again without assistance. I saw your MRI." Okay, so, but it's getting worse and I can feel it getting worse, and it's just, it makes it very difficult some days.
So no meeting in October.
You can start partying for Halloween early
Yep.
that week.
So we're shooting for the 22nd of November for our next meeting then?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And then
I don't have any
hopefully,
issues with that. I just know that's the week of Thanksgiving, so.
October 25th is the date we're not having the meeting. Yeah.
and so then hopefully by that time in November, we'll have been able to hear back from several bankers and.
Yeah, I'm
and-
planning to send it out
and
before I
we'll-
leave. I've been trying to get a lot of things done before I'm off so that I don't put them, burden them on anybody else while I'm gone.
And we'll also know from the other agencies as to what they're doing with that Minnesota first-time home buyers money.
I would expect that decision will be made next week.
Okay.
Their meeting is next week.
So at the very least, by the time we get into our November meeting, we'll have quite a bit more information on
Yeah.
what's available out there, what the bankers
And
say,
what- yeah.
where everybody else is going with it, and then we can come up with a better idea where to go.
Yep.
And,
programs.
even if we do a match, you don't have to make it a one-to-one. The deed, for example, the deed child care grant was the provider, the deed will provide $2, but the provider provides $1 for every $2 that deed provides, unless it falls into certain exceptions. And if you fall into those exceptions, you can have your match waived as well.
And I like
So-
that idea, especially if we split things into two different programs. Maybe that's a way that we want to go.
So there are options to do and some discussion to occur. Okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Are you sure now, Stump, that you're not opposing?
No. I'm not sure.
See you guys in November.
Please turn off your mics.
Sitting, listening patiently.
Yep.